calling all misfits, rebels, leaders, and teachers, welcome to the one place where the only way to fit in is by standing out, where big goals are met with even bigger action, and where we talk through then tackle all things entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Kelsey Knudsen, and this is the Get Shit Done podcast. Welcome to the Revolution. Are you hiding in your business weeds? Let me know if this sounds like you. Maybe you're the person who feels super gratified and validated when your inbox hits 0. Are you the person who has a team who's constantly looking for you to make decisions or get something done? They're waiting on you. Maybe your calendar is full of meetings and you feel like, oh my gosh, Kelsey, I'm getting so much shit done. I'm killing it. Is your team bored? Do they go home early because there's just not a lot for them to do? If any of this sounds like you, guess what, my friends? You may be hiding in the weeds of your business and it's holding you back. It may also be why your sales are stagnant. Today, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about 4 tactical tips I have for you on what to do differently with your to-dos, plus a couple hot tips to go really take this the extra mile. Get ready because we're going to get really tactical today, and we're talking all about how your to-do list is getting in the way of the growth of your business. Okay, like I said, I have four tactical tips for you today. And I just want to caveat this episode with this. Your job has changed, and you may not realize it. What do I mean? The second you hire someone, the second you grow your team, your to-do list, your responsibilities, they change, and they have to in order for your business to grow. Now, if you're solo and you're listening to this, there's probably still some nuggets for you, but this is especially true with teams, and I see it time and time again. That's why we're talking about this today. But I just want you to first acknowledge that what got you to this point in business has to shift and evolve if you are wanting to increase your team size, if you're wanting to open that next location, if you're wanting to add other avenues of sales in your business. You have to make these shifts, and it starts with you and it trickles down to the rest of your team. So without further ado, let's get right into the episode. 4 tips, things to help you prevent your sales from being stagnant, all around productivity. Here we go. Number 1, I want you to write down every single task that you do. And I want you to be brutally honest with yourself. The more honesty you have, the more clarity and direct you are with this stuff, it's just going to better improve the process, and it's going to be tedious. It's going to be annoying, and you're going to have things that you do every day, and you have things that you do weekly, things that you do periodically. I want you to really dissect everything that you do in your business, and that's everything from checking emails, responding to clients, answering the phone, creating an Instagram reel, all of those things. Write them down. Then I want you, step number 2 is to have your team do the same. Have them write down every single thing that they do in working with you. And here's the thing. The more detail, the better. Again, it's going to be tedious, so let them know ahead of time. I would audit a week. I think the best way to do this is just really go through a normal week, write down as the week is happening those tasks that you are doing, and add in anything that you're potentially missing. It's going to be so helpful, so informative. Then step 3, here's what you're going to do. You're going to look at your list and you're going to audit the shit out of it. I want you to divide it into 2 sections, please. First one is this. You need to acknowledge what things you as the business owner are the best person for, and you are the best at. What are those tasks? And be honest. This is where people get tripped up. They think, I like doing Instagram, so I'm just going to kind of keep doing it. No one on my team can do it to the level that I am. The truth is that will sustain you to a point. There will be a point, however, where that's just not working in your business. It's going to help actually hold you back from the other activities you need to focus on. And in my hot tip section of today's episode, I'm going to share what those to-dos should be, what should be on your plate as a business owner with team members. But that being said, I want you to be brutal and honest with yourself. I want you to create this list, and it should feel like not that many things. It may even feel like, oh my gosh, am I even working? It really, really should be a small focused list. And like I said, later in the episode, I'll share kind of what should be on that list. But first things first, after this audit, what are the things that Kelsey has to do? What am I the best person for? What will help move the business forward? And skill set wise, looking around the room, how can I best serve this company, my company, and how am I the best person for this job? And that could be because I'm Kelsey, the business owner. That could also just be looking at my team. I'm the one who has the strongest skill set in this area. And I just want to add the asterisks here. I'm always going to say it. Anything money related, whether that's like a quick glance that your accountant gives you a report and you go over it, to doing your own books, doing your own financial planning, money stuff, you have to have some level of awareness as a business owner. It is one of the hills I will die on. I want to make sure that's on your list too. So from that list, you did your audit. The second section is this. It's simple. It's everything else. These are things that can be delegated. These are things that could be automated. These are things that maybe you do this exercise and you're like, why do I even do that every day? Why is that on my list? Maybe these are things that for a time made sense in your business and how it used to operate, but you're here because you're growing fast and you need to get your shit together. So I'm going to help you. Okay. So this second list, I really want you to be clear and concise with it as well. Are these things that your team members can do? And maybe that involves training. Don't worry about the how yet. We don't need a solve for that. We're just identifying what tasks need to firmly come off your plate and go on someone else's. Some of it could also be you audit yourself and your tasks and you're like, wow, that's kind of a clunky system and process. I think we could do a more efficient job with it. Great. Create a project maybe in this sub list that is everything else. That's like project stuff or process improvement. And maybe we have a sub list of items that fall on that category that can then be delegated to someone on the team. Or my favorite, maybe a technology exists that can help streamline some of those things for you. All that to say, clean list. What are the things that have to be on your plate? What is everything else? And even within the everything else pile, you have things that could be delegated, things that can be improved via an app or a team member, or things that just come off the plate altogether. And then you're going to do this beautiful thing. You are going to cross-reference your list with your team members' list. Here's why we do it this way. Your team members may not know what's expected of them. It really could be that simple. Part of you being stuck in the weeds and you managing your inbox and you creating all of your content day after day and you manually onboarding and creating proposals, part of that could be your team doesn't know that you actually would like that off of your plate. And this exercise is so powerful because it will show you what they know. And on the opposite side, I've seen business owners do this exercise with their team and their team actually writes down stuff that the owner's like, oh my gosh, why do you spend so much time doing that? Or why does that take you that long? Or why do you check the email 5 times a day? I only want you to do it once a day. I'd rather your time go over here. It can really be a great exercise of visibility to see where those gaps are. Because when you grow a team, you're handing off the baton and it's hard to do it. You're in motion, you're running, they're running, and we want to make sure the handoff is clean. This is a great way to identify where a potential gap might exist. So I encourage you, have your team members do this exercise. Don't tell them what you are writing down. Don't tell them that you're also doing it too. And then come to the table. So that way you can really see, what are we getting right? What are we getting wrong? Where are we missing? It's also super, super helpful in this process. So step 4 is obviously the cross-reference and then the delegation portion. It's also super valuable here to ask them what they think you do. Because to us, it may seem like, gosh, I'm getting so much stuff done. I'm so productive. But if you're just constantly getting tasks done for today and you're not working on the growth of the business, that actually could be really alarming to your team members because they're like, if Kelsey doesn't know what we're doing tomorrow, then what are we doing tomorrow? If that's not even on her radar, what is she spending time, energy doing? And then also, why as a team member am I here? Why am I on board with this company? So this can just clear up so many different things. I'm going to recap those 4 steps again, just so you have them. Again, I want this episode to be super tactical for you. So I'm going to recap the 4, and then I actually have 3 hot tips I want to share in this same conversation. So hold tight for those. Okay? 4 steps, one more time, just so you have them. You are someone who is getting stuff done every day and you're just unsure, or you may not recognize this, but you're struggling with your productivity and you may be focusing your time and energy on the wrong places. And that could be why your business feels stuck. So if that is you, here's the 4 things you need to do. You're going to audit yourself. You're going to audit all the tasks that you do, every single thing. The best way to do it, spend a week just living life, doing business as normal, and write down all the things that you do. You're going to ask your team members to do the same. Then you're going to audit your list. You're going to break it down into 2 sections. What are the things that absolutely for sure have to be on your plate? What is everything else? and that everything else can fall into a couple different camps. We got take it off the list altogether. We got delegate it to a team member. And then we got create a project to improve it or find an app solution that can make it more streamlined and automated. And then step 4, after you do all of that, is I want you to cross-reference with your team. So have a meeting with the team, you bring your notes, they bring their notes, and you go line item by line item to see what are they doing that they should be doing, what are they missing, what could be handed off, what could be solved. Maybe you recognize, wow, our onboarding process is pretty clunky. There's a lot of manual steps. It probably doesn't have to be that way. I, as a CEO, maybe I don't know how to solve that, but maybe someone on the team's very process system oriented, and maybe you're like, hey, this is the problem. Who on the team wants to take on this project? And bam, now they have a whole project and process they're creating. And I have a whole other set of opinions around how to project manage. That's not what we're solving in today's episode. But just know through this exercise, you may see some areas that need to be improved because it's going to take a 10-step to-do list down to 1 or 2, which sounds pretty nice to me. So as mentioned, 4 steps, and I want to share these hot tips because I think they add a lot of context to everything I've been saying so far, and they really stem from client experiences. I want you to know I don't always work with teams, but it's becoming something that is almost a specialty of mine, and I love the dynamic, especially in small business. It's such a cool opportunity, not only for the business owner, but for the team member as well. There's lots of areas for growth. You can have a lot of entrepreneurial benefit while still having the safety and security of working for someone else. So I'm a big fan of small business, of course, and really developing teams. That's where these tips come from. These are experiences that I've had or my clients have had. So just know this comes from real life. So the 3 tips I want to provide you with today are this. Your team can't read your mind. And as I opened the episode, I said, as you've grown, you've already done it. You're in it, my friend. As you have grown your business, your to-do list, your priorities, they've shifted. Are you aware of that shift? And with that, as you're bringing people on your team, if you're not aware of it for yourself, how the heck can your team know that these expectations exist? How can they know when they're missing the mark? How can they know when they're doing a great job? How can they know how to make your life easier if you are just clutching and holding on for dear life to these to-dos that don't need to be on your plate? So I'm a big fan of recognizing that the team can't read your mind, and a lot of it starts with that personal self-awareness. It's hard to wake up as a CEO and have a totally blank calendar and no game plan for the day and know what to tackle first. And so this is preventing that from happening. This is taking the overwhelm out of it. And if you're in an industry where you're accustomed to having a lot of client-facing meetings, appointments, your work that you do has kind of steps to it where it's really clear what the workload looks like. Maybe on the days you don't do client stuff, you're a little confused on what to tackle. This exercise should help you with that. This should help you with that as well as equip you with the tools you need to share with your team. And then number 2 is finally my favorite part. Here's what should actually be on your plate. This does not apply to every CEO, but most that have those first couple of W-2s. Maybe you have a manager or you're training one, and maybe you're coming to a place where you're like, wow, I really don't want to work 24/7. How can I work smarter, not harder? If that's you, then you're going to want to listen into this section, okay? Here is what should be on your plate. And newsflash, it probably looks very different than what it's been like for you in the past. Team meetings. Consistent team meetings. I have clients who meet weekly with their teams. I have clients who meet monthly. I think it just depends on the size of your business and the stage of business that you are in. I also have clients who maybe do it quarterly. And to me, there's different types of team meetings. I love coming in and doing them with my clients as well. So if you don't do them at all, consistency is better than nothing. My ideal scenario for most businesses is probably like a monthly meeting. They're structured. They have a purpose. It's not just like, oh, we're here. I've gathered you here today and I don't know what we're doing. It's not that. Having a team meeting is here's where we're headed for the next quarter. It's here's what's worked for the last month. It's here's the goals that we have set and here's where we're at in our progress. It's those kinds of things. It's how do we improve the overall business. They can be morale boosting too. All in all, I imagine you're realizing not only do you as the business owner get to have these meetings, there's also some preparation involved. So you can see now how this to-do list looks way different, but there's still stuff there. You're still contributing. You're still working. Okay. What else is on the list? One-on-ones. For the love of God, if you are not doing a one-on-one with your team members, and even if you have contractors, if you're not having consistent check-ins specifically tailored around their growth and development and expectations, you are going to have a hard time. Here's why. If you have a rock star employee, they always clock in, they go above and beyond, and you have no growth plan for them, and you're not doing one-on-ones, you will eventually lose that employee. On the flip side, if you have someone that you're struggling with and you're just not quite able to delegate effectively, maybe you ask them to do things and they just get it wrong, or you have someone who's chronically like 2 minutes late all the time and it just drives you bananas. If you don't have a clear conversation and consistent check-ins around expectations, it's going to be hard to hold them to the fire. And then I am not an HR professional, but from the legal side of things, if you're not documenting this and having processes in place of you establishing expectations, making sure they understand those expectations, having conversations if they're not meeting them, it's going to be harder to let that person go. And I've just seen people do it wrong. I've seen people do it wrong where it ends ugly, just emotionally. I've seen it do it wrong where business owners are having to pony up and pay for things that verbally, I, in Kelsey mind, don't feel like they should have had to pay for. But all that to say, one-on-one with your team members. And if you don't know how to do it, please reach out. This is something I help so many business owners with, and it can be game-changing. And here's what's cool. If you're like, oh my gosh, that's another thing for me to do, not necessarily. You and me as your coach, we could sit down, we create the one-on-one questionnaire, but then every meeting you have your team member fill it out and they bring that to the table. They have ownership in what they're saying. It's a great time for them to bring up concerns or ideas for the business. It makes them feel seen and heard. I'm just a huge fan of having them come to the meeting prepared, and you too, of course, but have them do some reflection, have them do some visioning and dreaming and goal setting, and bring that to the table for you, because then you can curate the conversation to best support them. And it just goes so much better if they're like, hey, look, I know I've been running late. Here's why. Here's what's going on. That feels better if they open that door than if you do. Because oftentimes when you ask those questions, hey, what are you struggling with? What's something you'd want to improve? They know what's, for most of the time, they know what's going on. And so I really am a huge fan of having one-on-ones and having the team member fill out that sheet ahead of time and really take some ownership of their growth and development as well. Here's what else is on your plate. Don't worry, I did not forget. We also have the pleasure of planning and strategizing the business. That can look like planning for the next quarter. That can look like, hey, we want to prep to hire, so we need to get the business to X dollars in revenue in order to support that new hire. I have a team that I support right now that really wants a front desk. And front desk is expensive. It's not a revenue producing position. So we budgeted in, here's the financial goal we need to hit in order to come to a place where we as a company can hire that front desk person. And it's helped motivate the team because now they know, oh, it's not just that the business owner doesn't care or isn't thinking about the future. It's a numbers thing. It's a business thing. So now we know exactly what we need to do to contribute and help get the business to this place to have this benefit that we all would benefit from. From there, like I said earlier, anything money related is on your plate. And I think this ranges depending on what type of support you have. But as a caveat, if you do not know, if I ask you, hey, what was last month's revenue? And you can't quickly find that information, either you need to find a different professional to support you, you need to ask them to share that information with you, or my favorite, you need to create a place where that information is easily kept because you need to know what's going on with your business. I cannot tell you how many business owners don't look at their money stuff. And I've seen it be disastrous no matter what size, no matter what stage. I think all of us have to have some level of awareness of what's going on with the profitability of the business. And if that's something you struggle with, there's no shame in it. I just highly encourage you to fight for that understanding, whether that means having a hard conversation with your accountant and asking for a report more consistently, reading a book, listening to a podcast, reaching out to a coach, something to help you better understand what's going on. And then the other two things I have left for you that exist on your plate, creating new offers, whether that is I don't know, maybe you're going to have a new offer that never existed before for your clients. If that is a product, maybe you're a service-based business and you're wanting to roll out a product line. All of those big high-level decisions come from you because you are the captain of the ship. And I'm not gonna tangent yet. I will get there in a second. But all that to say, the creation of new has to start with you. You can have processes, you can have team members who you brainstorm with, who maybe actually create the thing, but just the idea itself, no one knows your business as well as you do. And then the last one, delegating projects. And I mentioned this earlier, maybe when you do your whole to-do exercise and you realize like, wow, onboarding is a super manual process. I don't have capacity or desire, and I'm not the best person to solve for that. Maybe that overall project of onboarding you hand off to somebody else. So you can see now your plate as a CEO of a team, a growing, scaling business. And growing means you're hiring people, your revenue is steadily increasing, you're opening new locations, you have more people wanting to work with you than you have capacity. If that's you, your plate is truly all about leadership. It's pouring into your people, it's improving systems and processes, and it's planning for the future. The team has to feel confident in knowing where you're headed. Imagine having a captain of a ship that doesn't have a map, a compass, or a destination you're aiming for. Then it's like, why are we rowing and where are we going and why? All in all, the last hot tip I have for you, no shocker here, is to really build that leadership muscle. I first want to acknowledge it may be new for you. You may realize, wow, I really don't know how to lead. Leading my team for my business is very different than being captain of my high school cheer squad. Guess what? It's okay if it feels new, if it feels scary, but that has to change today. I encourage you to check out some podcasts, listen to some audiobooks if you need to, do trainings, whatever you need to do to really focus in and harness your brain and your leadership muscle, because that's the biggest gap I see with business owners at the level that you and I are at. So I encourage you to really make that a priority. And then as you're doing your to-do list and you're auditing and having your team audit to really transfer that knowledge to your team. So if you have managers and you're listening to this, have them do this exercise, and there may be things that they're doing that are holding back the business as well. It's a trickle-down effect. So if you're not in that zone of genius and you're not really the high level, the strategy, the decision-making of the business, if that's not your main priorities, we need to shift some things. And if your management team isn't also leading, delegating, making some decisions under your guidance, of course, but if most of their time is not spent on development of team, any of that stuff, we also need to recalibrate them as well. So all that to say, this is just about getting really crystal clear on the get shit done stuff. You know, we have get shit done, which is a great mantra. I love it, of course, but there's an asterisk. It has to be the right shit. And this is all about what that right shit is for this current stage of business. And if you're listening to this episode and it resonated with you, I would love to have a conversation. This is the kind of stuff I coach to, and I'm just so passionate about helping you get out of your own way. And here's how that looks for you, my friend. I'm going to be a little tough love real quick. If your team member is struggling to execute on things, or maybe you ask them to do something and then you take it back. If you find yourself putting in those extra hours because not only are you being the leader and CEO you now are, you're also still doing the client calls, the follow-ups, the emails, the content plan, and your team is just waiting for you. You're in the way of their progress to help support you in your business. If that's you, it doesn't have to be that way. And if you're sick and tired of operating a business like that, I freaking get it. And I just want you to know I'm here for you. I'm actually opening up 3 one-on-one spots for the rest of the year, and I would love to have a conversation. So if that's you, hit me up. Best way to do that would be Instagram. My handle is Kelsey Marie Knudsen, or you can shoot me an email direct to me, info@kelseymarieknudsen.com. All in all, just take some time today. Go audit your stuff. Have your team do the same, and really come to the table with a very clear, concise list of what stays on the plate and what gets to come off. I hope you found this episode helpful, and we'll catch you next time. Hey, thanks for being a part of the Get Shit Done revolution. My hope is this episode sparked a fire in you, equipped you with some practical next steps, or inspired you to take action towards your goals. If it did, please help spread the word by sharing this episode or leaving a review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you're tuning in. Now it's time for me to hand over the keys and let you get shit done.